You good?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, guys. Welcome to Junior HQ, aka my bedroom. So yeah, Elias, come over. We just want to talk to you about the people that we have in store for you in our next issue of Junior,
and the new format as well, the new content.
Yes.
That these will be living within.
Yeah, we're gonna try and mix it up this time around. So yeah, we're excited to kind of like share all this with you. I think there's a lot of really cool shit happening.
Yeah.
So do you want to jump off?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to talk through basically the project features and then move into some of like the new types of content that we're going to try and make with this thing.
Yeah. So we have Andrew Rankin, who is doing a project. Well, he's finished it actually.
Yeah.
Finished a number of years ago, but it still hasn't really been released properly. So it's about it's called Real Life Superheroes, and it's about these crime fighters, and they're not quite crime fighters, though. They dress up in the guise of these kind of like representations of crime fighters. They put on a costume, and I think he's kind of exploring that in a number of different ways. Like he's got ones that probably do this as like a hobby, and then there's a few people who are who do it in on a set. There's the one photo of the guy on the set. So I think it is just this kind of idea of people trying to help and putting on a costume to do so, kind of set against the backdrop of the city. Yeah.
Which is like an interesting kind of like mix of like the fantastical element, but then it's also real life.
Yeah.
And it's a project that both myself and Elias had our eye on for ages. So we're really happy to be able to give it give it a home.
Yeah.
And in like a very full-fledged type of format.
Yeah, because I felt like I thought it had already been published, but actually it's still waiting. So hopefully we can showcase it.
Bring it to life.
One of the first times.
To you guys. And then another person who we're really excited about is Matthew Glover, who's a recent graduate of the Ulster University BA photography program, and so his series is called Where Elephants Go to Die. And it's a number of things. It's on one hand, it's kind of a portrait of a rural Ireland and of this kind of like fiercely energetic youth that find themselves in this very quiet place, and how they, I guess, try to reckon with this place that doesn't really offer much. So at once it's this really like frenetic, explosive, like energy filled, like fuck yeah type document of these young people, but also balanced with like a more somber look at the realities of living in like in a quiet, rural, not very accessible part of the country. And I think we're both very excited about it because it's kind of like it's a very modern look at Ireland, which we've talked about before.
It's lacking, I think.
Yeah, Ireland always tends to like. I've made the joke that like Ireland, whenever people photograph it, it's always like people in paddy caps, or it's the Troubles, or it's something to do with the traveller community.
Quite two sides of one coin, rather than. It's like black or white usually, rather than these like shades of grey that we need to try and like show. Yeah,
and so I'm really excited to have like a fresh, unique, and very honest portrayal of growing up in Ireland. Then over to you.
And then for the next part, Therese Rafter, another recent graduate, and her project is something that she has done for her grad show, and I think literally only been shown in that show itself. So again, really happy to have something that's like so fresh, so new.
I remember like both myself and Elias going to the DIT grad show in the gallery of photography, and we walked into that little cubby room
on the left,
and all of her prints were there, and we were like,
this is something that
fuck yes.
And there's a reason that like the DIT show used her photos as the advertising. And so when you get at these like, on the surface, there are these really striking images of these birds and chickens that are used in bird pageants, and she's photographed them like really clean on like a pink, like really vibrant pink backdrop, and it's these kind of like she's used these images that are like quite abstract. The birds are turning away, like they don't have heads, and then sometimes you'll see an arm of the human coming in. And she's using this really like strong aesthetic to come across with an idea of the commodification of these chickens. So I think she said she was going from the idea of how we for eggs and for meat, from chicken meat, we grow them and we make them into like a factory process of these lives. And then she wanted to draw this line between the commerce of meat and eggs and then this kind of beauty commerce and the pageants and the kind of the human hand, the literal human hand that is in the life of these birds. And it comes through in the images as well. And again, just really, really strong images. Like if you take away the concept that she has, there's still just these amazing images to look at, and I can't wait to see them printed. So, and
it's also this interesting, like almost inadvertent documentary. I don't even want to say story, but like an examination of this community that breeds chickens for beauty pageants. And it's not actually directly showing you these people, but that's annoying. My sister just came home, so there you go. No editing. We're doing it on the fly. Hi. No, Mom, I'm playing World of Warcraft. So and then last but not least, I'm actually really excited about this project as well. It's a photographer called Holly Foskett, and she's also a graduate of the Ulster University BA photo program. And I guess with issue 1 and like just our approach to photography in general, we really want to bring you like a depth and like a variety of different stuff. And one of the interesting kind of things happening in like contemporary photo land, or that's really kind of coming to a fore, is this whole idea of using found images as part of people's artistic practice. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't get some sort of like perverse pleasure out of flying directly in the face of people who are like, oh, you don't even take your own photos, that means you're not a real photographer. And like, if there could be less giggling, that would be nice. Trying to film a video. Sorry about that. This whole idea of like a more conservative like view of photography and documentary photography as like this kind of photojournalistic thing where like you go out and you take your images, and in fact no, it doesn't really have to be that way, and we don't have to be so strict in how we approach photography as a medium and as an art form. And what Holly did is she used found images that were kept by both her mother and her father separately to tell this like really deeply personal and moving story about, and it's a very ordinary human story about a family and the realities of life, and that sometimes things don't work out, and it's really multifaceted and layered, and I'm really excited to bring that to people.
And one of the really interesting things is some of the artifacts she found aren't even pictures. There's a greeting card and some writing on the back of postcards and the back of photographs, which is kind of a really interesting rumination on how far can we push the medium. Totally. And what still counts. And I think definitely that when you see the whole project, it's so obvious that it works. And it's all relevant. And
if you disagree, fight me. Library project. 22nd to 28th of May.
Outside of the tourists.
They'll be there, boxing gloves in
So
hand.
this time in the magazine we've like expanded out on number 1. So number 1 was just 6 project features. It was quite sterile, but I think what it needed to be kind of a statement, of a statement of intent, and saying what we wanted to do. And now we've kind of expanded out to be more editorial and have more content in the guise of writing and photography. And we have a number of different features that are coming together really nicely, actually. That have writers and photographers teaming up and kind of responding to each other on like a specific theme, or even not even like even just some of them are just clean responses. There's no communication. It's just kind of a what was one person make when they react to another piece of work.
As we kind of mentioned before, like not only do we like mixing it up in terms of like, let's say, genres, for lack of a better word, in terms of photography and styles and aesthetics, but we're also really excited about experimenting with how photography is used, and like, is it not interesting, like, the photographs kind of take on a different life when you pair them with text, and it's I think it was exciting for the photographers to work on this thing that's like part photo essay, part something else, and this whole idea of like you put photos in a certain context and then something exciting happens, and then I think also for our readers it's like interesting to have like a mix up of different types of features to engage with within the magazine. And
even somebody who may not be as interested in pure photography, they will have something to read. We have some really exciting writers from other magazines and from different places that will hopefully lend a really interesting perspective to the magazine that we didn't have before. Yeah, like so.
I'm really excited about, like, I think as creative people, very often we can be like super controlling and like you want to do things, you know, a certain way. And with these features, I'm really excited about this whole thing of like, you're just trusting another creative person and you're trusting their vision, you're trusting their judgment to make something that's like, not even necessarily better than the sum of their parts, but just kind of a different and interesting thing as a result of them coming together. So the premise of this is that a photographer shoots a series, and then we get a writer in to respond to the series. And we have said that the responses can be fiction, non-fiction, whatever.
Abstract, photojournalistic.
Yeah. And as of this moment, we still don't even really know exactly where that's going to take us. But I'm super stoked to see.
Can't wait to see what happens.
What comes up.
And then we have kind of a poetry section, and I kind of like to think of it as like a picture paints 1,000 words.
Nice.
So we'll have just an image, and we've collected all the images now, and we're going to then hand these images off to a poet who will write one verse.
Or to a series of poets, rather.
Yeah, series. There's four photographers, 4 poets, all responding to each other. And and it'll be this really kind of like image versus text. Like the longer pieces will be these kind of like mixes of photo and text, more editorial. But these hopefully will be like this one spread that you can look at, and you have the photo and the text will hopefully play off against each other in a really interesting way. Yeah,
like when we were thinking about this idea, we both brought up this interesting thing of like, you know, when you look at a photo on a blank page, it's this graphic kind of like block, you know, there's like a white canvas and then boom, there's the photo. And the same way a poem is also like a very graphic, like they're almost the same size a lot of the time.
We hope to have them quite like mirror each other in a way,
and a photograph is this thing that on the surface is quite simple, but the more you read into it and the more you examine it, the deeper it becomes, and you start questioning like, oh well, why did they take it this way? Why is the person doing this? Or like, and you can really go deep into it and create this kind of narrative out of a single image. And it's the exact same with the poem. It's this thing that can only be a few stanzas, but you know, I think as we all know from like studying English in school and in college and stuff, like you could just go endlessly deep on a poem, which is kind of like the beauty of it.
And hopefully the same in photography, in the photos that we present.
And once again, when they come together, they'll create like something new. And I think in terms of Junior 2 as a singular thing, like I think photo books are an interesting jumping off point and inspiration, because with the photo book, it's like you buy into this thing knowing that you don't just read it the one time. You go through it, and then you come back in a few months, and you come back in a few months, and you kind of like glean different little bits and pieces every time you do that. So hopefully with this magazine, you invest in it and you have a look through, and then in a few months you'll read one of the poems again, and you're like, oh wow, like this. Now I get this new kind of perspective on it. So hopefully it'll be this thing. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. There you go. That's my pitch.
All I know is Junior 2 is going to be more rounder, realer, revitalizing, moisturizing, and
more luxurious.